What's up, guys? We're back with a full slate of college basketball action here on Saturday, February 22nd. We're going to break down a ton of NCAA games tonight. We're going to look at bets on the side and over-under. Make sure to check that pinned comment throughout the day to see if there's any changes as injury news and player availability is confirmed. Yesterday, guys, not looking so hot. We did get a blowout, very easy win there with the Cavaliers. We locked them in early at -6.5. That line skyrocketed, but I told you guys take them at anything less than double digits, and they ended up with like an almost 40-point win or something. It was such a blowout that I didn't even watch most of that game. It was just very clear the Cavaliers were going to dominate. On the college side, things are looking a little bit bleak, guys. A little bit unlucky there on Manhattan. We had them plus 2.5. They eventually end up losing that game by 5. We had Wright State -3.5 against a team they dismantled earlier this season. They find a way to eventually lose that game by 4 points. We still have Miami of Ohio live at -1.5. They have a small lead currently in the second half, so hopefully they can bring it home for us, give us the 2-2 day. But we're looking ahead, guys. We are off to the races here with a huge Saturday of action. So do me a big favor, slam that like button. If we can get to over 1,000 likes on this video, I'll give away another one of these Stump the Spread hoodies. Just sent one out to the channel members for the channel member giveaway. The guy that won the hoodie in the regular giveaway, he still hasn't gotten back to us with the information. So we'll see if that happens. If not, we'll have another hoodie to give away regardless. But definitely hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Once we make it to 50,000 subscribers, we'll be giving away another hoodie for that as well. Speaking of being a channel member, guys, you can sign up to be a channel member by clicking the little join button right below the video. Members get exclusive early access to all of my videos, and they get their name up on screen just like right now. I really appreciate all the channel members, and I'm really looking forward to doing more channel member based giveaways in the future. All of our videos are sponsored by StumpTheSpread.com. We've got a team of experienced cappers over there for every major sport, currently covering NBA, college basketball, UFC, NHL, and we've got Major League Baseball right around the corner, guys. Click the link in the description to head over to StumpTheSpread.com and check us out. If you're not sure if a premium package is right for you right now, just try us out by signing up for that free email list. You'll get approximately one email, definitely never more than one, but you get one email a day straight to your inbox with, picks and with updates on our results. Also, you can get all kinds of miscellaneous information. For instance, we sent out a 70-1 PGA golf bet on, Chris Ventura. So hopefully he can bring that one home for us this weekend. But all kinds of random sports and stuff are covered on that email list. It's free information, guys. Get over there and get signed up. Comment below with any bets you're looking at today. We'll give you our best advice on all of them. We're committed to responding to every single comment every single day. So let me know anything you want to say about my picks, these videos, or anything you see here. As always, our favorite picks will be in the pinned comment down below. Now let's get into our first game of the night, guys. We've got number 6 Tennessee going on the road to take on number 7 Texas A&M. That one's going to be on ESPN, and it's an 11 a.m. tip here Central Standard Time. We see the Volunteers, they come into this one fresh off of a pretty nice win there against Vanderbilt. Not an easy team to beat this season. Vandy did keep it pretty competitive, I will say. So got to give them credit there. We see Tennessee, they've won 4 out of their last 5. That loss at Kentucky, okay, you lost against Kentucky twice this year. That's starting to look a little bit concerning, but this team has a lot of talent, guys. I mean, Chaz Lanier, a monster, almost 18 points per game. Ziegler, a very good point guard, almost 14 points and almost 8 assists per game. You do not see that every day. Against Vanderbilt, we liked what we got out of the Volunteers for sure. I mean, 81 points, that's never bad. They did really struggle to slow down the three-point shooting of Vanderbilt. That's a concern, but Tennessee shot 56% from the field, 43% from 3. You're going to win a lot of games when you do that. So we'll see what they can do here on the road against a very tough Texas A&M team that's done some good things this season for sure. There's a reason they're ranked 7th in the nation. They're 20-6 overall. They're fresh off of a loss, guys. They went on the road at Mississippi State their last time out and absolutely laid an egg. They looked terrible in that game, losing 70-54. Not a good look. It was actually, we were on Texas A&M in that game, I believe, and yeah, we absolutely did get burned there. So we'll see if they've got a bounce back in them. Obviously, this is a massive bounce back spot for a very good team. The the Aggies, they shot only 34% from 3, 35% from the field there at Mississippi State. Just not a good game for them against a team they'd already had success against this season, if I remember correctly. But yeah, just a bad shooting night. They even had an edge on the boards, but managed to lose that game convincingly. They were only down by 1, or no, they were leading by 1 at halftime, and they got outscored 40-23 in the second half. So the Aggies have plenty to work on in this game, guys. Plenty to work on, absolutely. So we'll see if they've got a bounce back in them. Their season-long numbers obviously looking fantastic, like you'd expect any teams to look that's ranked this highly. They're not necessarily an offensive juggernaut, so it's a bit of a concern, but their rebounding and defense are elite. They're 1.5-point favorites at home in this game. We've got a total of 130.5. Tennessee 4-4 against the spread on the road, 16-10 to the under. Texas A&M 9-3-1 against the spread at home, 18-8 to the under. So with both teams showing such big trends towards the under, and you see those Texas A&M games finish with each team scoring in the 60s fairly often. So I wouldn't fault you too much if you want to take a look at the under here, but I'm not going to be doing that, guys. I'm going to be taking the Texas A&M Aggies at home here in this huge bounce back spot. A lot of talent on both teams here, but I just think the home court advantage really shines through in this one, and we see Texas A&M get that win. Rolling right along, guys, we're looking at the Oregon Ducks. They're going on the road in this one to take on the Wisconsin Badgers out there in the Big Ten. Oregon, 19-8 on the season. They've actually put together a decent year. They had that long losing streak. Was that a 5-game losing streak there in conference play? So that doesn't look great, but the schedule lightened up a little bit, and they've won 3 in a row now, taking down Northwestern, Rutgers, and then a nice road win at Iowa their last time out. That was a very, very close game. So give them, I'm not going to give them too much credit, but it was a win, so you got a nice win. They did some good things, albeit against a pretty, a very challenged at this point Iowa team. Like losing your best player to injury for the season is pretty brutal, but Oregon shot 40% from 3 in that game. They did a good job on the boards, dominating the boards, so they'll be hoping they can replicate something like that in this one, obviously going up against a much, much tougher opponent, but this isn't a team, the Ducks don't really rely on any one major scorer. Their rebounding numbers, not necessarily elite. Their defensive numbers are okay, I'll say, but definitely not elite. They're just kind of an all-around decent team. Is decent going to be good enough in this spot, though, because they're going on the road to take on the number 11 Wisconsin Badgers, who come into this game absolutely cruising, guys. They won, 5 out of their last 6 now. Their only loss was at Maryland. That was a pretty competitive game, and Maryland is a tough out for anyone. The last time we saw the Badgers play, guys, they dominated Illinois 95-74. Avoiding the letdown after a big blowout win. Well, not a blowout win, a 10-point win, albeit at Purdue. So this team's been playing great. John Tonji, a monster. Like, this team is very, very good. 25th in the nation in offense. They're a good rebounding team. Maybe not elite, but they're a good rebounding team, good enough. And their defense is solid, giving up 70 points per game. So nothing wrong with that. They're currently 11-4 in Big Ten play. So they are right there, only a couple games back of Michigan and 1 game back of Michigan State. So they've got their hat right there in the ring as maybe one of the best, couple teams out there in the Big Ten. So, looking at the numbers for this one, guys, no shocker here to see Wisconsin as big favorites. They're 8.5-point favorites at home in this one. We've got a total of 155.5. Oregon, 3-5-1 against the spread on the road, 15-12 to the over. Wisconsin, 8-6 against the spread at home, 16-10 to the over. So, if you wanted to think, defense is going to be not going great in this one, and you wanted to take over 155.5, that would definitely make sense to me. I think that's a reasonable bet, but I think an even better bet here is just to go ahead and take Wisconsin minus 8.5. I believe they're going to win this game by double digits pretty easily, pretty convincingly. This Oregon team, I just don't think they're going to do well traveling in this exact environment. I know they're already in the middle of the country after playing against Iowa, but now they got to stay up there in the snow, and I just don't think that's going to agree with them too much. And Wisconsin, just the better team. Next on the docket, guys, we got another 11 a.m. Central Standard Time tip. We've got Florida State going on the road to take on Louisville out there in the ACC. Florida State comes into this game 16-10 on the year. They're fresh off of a 74-66 win there against Miami. They needed a win, guys. It's been a little bit rough. I mean, it hasn't been that bad, don't get me wrong. I mean, Florida State comes into this game 7-8 in conference play. So they haven't been terrible or anything like that, but they have only won, 3 out of their last 8? 3 out of their last 8, it looks like. Yeah, they're 3-5 in their last 8 games. So that's not great. They got blown away by Clemson. Their wins, they've won 3 out of their last 4, but they beat Miami, Wake Forest, and Notre Dame. Let's not exactly light the beacons for that, guys. That's not really going to get me too jazzed up. This isn't a very good offensive team. 151st in the nation. 200 and something and rebounding. Like, they're not great on the boards either. And the last time they were really tested by an opponent, guys, they were playing at home against number 23 Clemson. A big spot for them to get a big marquee win. They came out terrible, ended up losing 72-46 in a game that was really never really felt competitive at all. So now they've got to take on a Louisville team that they lost against convincingly earlier in the season. So that's another concern here. But, they've got some players on that roster that aren't bad. I mean, Jameer Watkins, 18 points per game. You don't see that every day. So we'll see what they can do here in a tough conference game going up against the number 25 Louisville Cardinals. Louisville comes in this game winners of 4 in a row. They took down Boston College, Miami, NC State, and Notre Dame. But guys, they handled all of those games against pretty weak opponents, I'll grant it. very, very comfortably, guys. Their only loss recently, or their only loss since, oh my God, since the non-conference was a loss against Kentucky. That was the non-conference loss, and then they lost in conference play against Georgia Tech. They're currently 13-2 in conference play. Like, this has been a very, very nice run here for the Louisville Cardinals. Chucky Hepburn, an absolute monster, 15 points, 6.5 assists per game. Nothing wrong with that. Blowing out Notre Dame at Notre Dame looks good. They played Florida State earlier this season and got the 90-76 win, so that looks good. This is a top 60 offensive team averaging around 80 points per game. Their rebounding numbers are also elite, and I think that's going to be a big, big strength for them in this one. Their defense, maybe not insane. The ball movement on offense is good, but not insane either. But I like what we're seeing from Louisville here. I mean, at Notre Dame their last time out, they did a lot of positive things. They shot, what did they shoot? 33% from three, 11 of 33 from deep. A team that likes to shoot some threes, definitely not a problem for me there. They held things even on the boards, but they played some very good defense, limiting Notre Dame to only 36.5% shooting from the field, and that was on Notre Dame's home court. So very good trends there for Louisville. They come into this game 13.5-point favorites. We've got a total of 151.5. Florida State 2-6 against spread on the road, 16-10 to the under. Louisville 5-8 against spread at home, 17-9 to the under. So there's a reason to possibly take under 151.5 in this game if you guys wanted to follow those trends. Pretty significant trends towards the under for both teams, so that would make some sense to me. I also think this is a good spot to lean towards Louisville to get the blowout win and cover, which not normally a combination you want, to be on the under, but also be on a big favor. But Louisville's been playing so well recently; they've been blowing out pretty much everybody they play, it feels like. So I think this could be another chance for them to get another blowout win, and they don't really have any big tests looming on the horizon. Like, their on-deck team is Virginia Tech, so I don't think they're gonna be too scared of that. So definitely give me Louisville minus 13.5 in this game. Hey guys, jumping here with a quick ad break. This is a great time to sign up for StompTheSpread.com. Signing up for a premium membership gets you access to our top confidence plays on all the major sports. We're currently covering NCAA basketball, the NBA, NHL, UFC, and the NFL. We have a team of professional cappers that work extremely hard putting in the research on these games every day so you don't have to. We make things very easy for you with pick notifications directly to your phone and unit sizes assigned to each play so you can see where our confidence level is on every individual matchup. To test out the service before you buy, join our free email list, get the occasional free or premium pick straight to your inbox. Just click the link in the description to sign up for a free account. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Now, guys, back to the games. Rolling right along, guys, we're looking at some Big 12 action. We've got West Virginia going on the road here to take on Texas Tech. West Virginia comes into this game 16-10 on the year. They're fresh off a nice win against Cincinnati, a 3-point win, so it was close. It was very competitive, but they find a way there in the end, and West Virginia needs all the wins they can get. They're only 7-8 in conference play, which is not terrible in the Big 12. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying they're a bad team, but they've struggled in their big, tough tests. I mean, they lost a close one against Baylor. They lost a very close one against BYU. They lost a close one at TCU. Like, this team involved in a lot of close games, maybe not so close there against Houston, maybe not, insanely close there in that blowout loss at Kansas State, but usually they're playing fairly competitive games. But now they're getting another real test. So another opportunity for them to get a big, big win here and boost that, that tournament resume, which everybody's worried about right now. Javon Small, a monster, 19 points per game, 6 assists per game. But this team's numbers on the season, guys, they just don't score enough. They're in the 300s there, averaging less than 70 points per game. Their rebounding numbers, part of that is a function of their slow pace of play, but not great. Like, in their win against Cincinnati, guys, I mean, we didn't hate what we saw, but they got you have an 8 rebound edge against Cincinnati, cool, but are you going to be able to do that against a team like Texas Tech? That seems like a very big ask for me. So we'll see what the Mountaineers do on the road here. We see the Red Raiders, guys, they are 20-6 on the season. They're fresh off an embarrassing loss at TCU. I mean, embarrassing might be a little bit strong. TCU is at least a middle-of-the-road team out there in the Big 12, but definitely not a game that the Red Raiders were supposed to lose, and they were fresh off a blowout at Oklahoma State, so they get to go back home for this one. Although it is a big look-ahead spot for them, though, they have Houston and Kansas coming up on deck. So concerning stuff there, JT Toppin, obviously a monster for this team. They're 27th in the nation, averaging over 81 points per game. That's dominant stuff. The rebounding numbers are good. Their defensive numbers are excellent, and they're needing to play much better defense in this one than they did against TCU, because that would just, you got to play better on one end of the court or the other if you're going to make things work in a matchup like that, because that was just not the best look there. Obviously, not great. Not great, guys. So definitely some concerns there. The Red Raiders, they're 11.5-point favorites at home in this one. We've got a total of 135.5. West Virginia actually a solid 5-3 against the spread on the road. They're 17-8-1 to the under. Texas Tech, guys, they are 9-6 against the spread at home, 14-11-1 to the over. So no real lean for me on the over-under here. There's a part of me that does think that maybe Texas Tech could get a blowout win and cover in this one, but I'm going to be leaning towards West Virginia. Texas Tech is in that big look-ahead spot. The Mountaineers need to be desperate here for some resume-building wins. Do I think they win this game? Probably not winning it straight up, but I do think they can keep it to single digits, and that's all they need to do. They lose this game by 9, and we are golden. Next on the dock, we're back to the SEC. We've got number 21, Mississippi State, going on the road to take on Oklahoma. The Bulldogs come into this game fresh off of a blowout win, that 70-54 win against Texas A&M. They beat Ole Miss before that. They did lose to Florida before that, but pretty much everybody losing to Florida at this point. So we'll see what they can do here. This Mississippi State team has been very, very good. They are only 7-6 in SEC play. They did some good stuff in the non-conference though, so got to give them credit for those wins. Josh Hubbard, a very solid leading scorer, guys. 18 points per game, 40% from the field isn't, cartoonish good, but it's serviceable, and this offense has definitely been good. 66th in the nation, averaging 79 points per game. They're also a very good rebounding team, guys. 60th in the nation. That's definitely something they're going to be wanting to, an edge they're going to be wanting to push here against this Oklahoma team. So we'll see what Mississippi State can get done here. Obviously, they're hoping for a big game from Josh Hubbard against Oklahoma, a team they have not played yet this season. It doesn't look like, they have not played Oklahoma yet this year. So, going to be interesting to see what the Sooners can do at home. This Oklahoma team is 16-10 on the year. They've lost 5 in a row, though. I mean, losing against teams like Alabama, Tennessee, and Missouri, okay, that's expected. But you lost a 3-point game against LSU at home for you, and then going to Florida and getting absolutely dismantled by the Gators. Things aren't going to get any easier. There's not a lot of free wins out there in the SEC this season. Jalen Moore, a monster, 17 points per game. Great, that's cool, but this team, guys, they really struggle on the glass. They really struggle defensively. I mean, against Florida, obviously Florida's an elite team, guys, but yeah, I mean, cool. Fears was able to put up 22 points, but you guys got out-rebounded just by a little bit, and you could not do anything about, a lot of the guys on Florida, to be honest. Florida had 5 double-digit scores against them, and yeah, we saw Oklahoma shoot only 38% from the field, 35% from 3, 66% from the free throw line. Those just aren't the kind of numbers that are going to work. So it's a little bit surprising here. We see Oklahoma getting only 3.5 points at home. We've got a total of 149.5. Mississippi State 5-3 against the spread on the road. They are 14-12 to the over. We see Oklahoma, they are 5-9 against the spread at home, 14-12 to the over as well. We see Alabama is on deck there for Mississippi State, so that's a bit of a concern. Oklahoma, I don't know if look-ahead spots are really relevant for a team that's been struggling so much, but they do have Kentucky on deck as well. Guys, I just don't like what I'm seeing from Oklahoma right now. Give me Mississippi State on the road here. I think we see them, get a nice win and cover despite having Alabama on deck. That's a tough team to have on deck, so that might scare us away from putting this in the pinned comment, but I really think Mississippi State is the side you want to be on in this one. Next up, guys, we're looking at one of the biggest games on the slate and one of the biggest games in the Big 12. We've got number 8 Iowa State going on the road to take on number 5 Houston. The Iowa State Cyclones come into this game winners of their last 4 in a row, beating TCU, UCF, Cincinnati, and Colorado. That's kind of an easy part of your schedule out there in, a very tough Big 12. Coming off of a 14-point win against Colorado. Doesn't feel too bad. They definitely kept their heads on straight, kept their eye on the prize, and didn't get distracted by the fact they had this Houston game looming. So a good game there. This is gonna be a tough one, guys. This is gonna be a tough one. This is a matchup of a couple of Titans here in their win against Colorado. We liked what we saw defensively, giving up only 65 points. Iowa State shot the ball well from the field, shot the ball well from 3, did a great job getting to the free throw line. It was a game we saw a lot of free throws. They didn't have any sort of rebounding edge really, but it was a good day for the Cyclones, no doubt about it. Curtis Jones is a monster. We like what we're seeing from guys like Keyshawn Gilbert. This team, very good defensively, elite defensively. The offensive numbers are elite as well, but will they be elite against a team like the Houston Cougars that is so good, guys? Houston comes in this game 22-4 on the year. They've won their last 5 in a row, beating Oklahoma State, Colorado, Baylor, Arizona, and Arizona State. The only one of those games that was really very close, it was really in jeopardy there, was that game at Arizona. Houston had to make a big comeback, but they did, and they end up winning that game by 4. So good stuff there from Houston, one of the best defensive teams in the nation. Currently the number 1 team in the Big 12. They're 14-1, so they're looking toward locking this thing up, which is crazy to say. They've got monsters across the board, guys. LJ Cryer is their leading scorer, but that's not a huge concern for this team. They lean on their defense, which is something that's going to be good at home and good on the road. They're giving up 57.6 points per game defensively. That is just wild. That's wild. That's crazy, crazy stuff, guys. Their offensive numbers are fine. Their rebounding numbers are good. This is a really tough physical team. So what will they be able to do at home against, one of the best teams they're going to face this year? Well, we'll see, guys. The odds makers love the Cougars in this one. Houston, actually 12.5-point favorites. We've got a total of 133.5. Iowa State, 5-3 against the spread on the road. Very respectable road team here. They are 14-12 to the under. Houston, 9-5 against the spread at home. 13-12-1 to the under. Am I going to take under 133.5 in this game? To be honest, I feel like it's playable. I don't know if it's like any sort of lock or anything like that, but I do feel like it's playable. I am concerned with Iowa State losing a game against Kansas earlier. That's a problem. Like, you should not be losing to Kansas. That Kansas Jayhawks team is not looking very good. So this is a really tough spot for me, but I am leaning towards the under and just a little bit towards Iowa State getting 12.5 points. When you got two defensive teams, like maybe we see a real defensive struggle in this one. We could see, a slog of a game with a lot of free throw shooting, and that could lead to things being a little bit closer. So give me the Cyclones on the road in this one, but as a very small lean. Next on the docket, guys, we got Penn State. They're going on the road to take on Minnesota. The Nittany Lions come into this game 14-13 on the season, so not exactly killing it. They're currently in last place in the Big Ten. They are fresh off a win, though, a rare win. They got the 89-72 win there at home against Nebraska. So, good stuff there. They shot the ball well. I mean, putting up 89 points, not something you've seen every night here from Penn State. They shot 34% from three. You would have thought it would be better, but they shot 60% from the field overall. They actually had a 5-rebound edge there on the Cornhuskers, who didn't shoot the ball particularly well from deep and really didn't play any defense there. So Penn State, obviously, with the hot hand coming into this game, but on the season, it's been a little bit tough. This is a decent offensive team, don't get me wrong, but the rebounding and the defense have just been abysmal. So we'll see what they can do here on the road against a team that isn't quite as close to the bottom of the conference as I would have thought, guys. The Minnesota Golden Gophers, what are they like? I'm not going to try and do the math on that one, guys, but they've won 3 out of their last 4 with some decent wins in there. They're 6-9 in conference play. They are coming off a win against UCLA at UCLA. They went on that road trip, guys, that California road trip, and looked good, beating UCLA and USC. They also beat Penn State not too long ago, 69-61. So very good stuff from Minnesota, guys. No disappointments here. Dawson Garcia is a monster, shooting nearly 50% from the field and averaging around 20 points per game. They don't put up cartoonish offensive numbers, but they play really good defense. They bring you down to their pace. Their rebounding numbers don't look insane either, but going on the road and winning at UCLA, guys, that is a monster performance. I mean, Minnesota did a good job on the boards. They actually had 1 more rebound than UCLA. They didn't get, UCLA shot more free throws in that game, and we still see Minnesota come away with the win. So definitely a big confidence builder there for the Golden Gophers. And yeah, I mean, we're liking Minnesota in this one. They're 2.5-point favorites. We've got a total of 141.5. Penn State 3-5 against the spread on the road, 16-10-1 to the under. Minnesota 4-11-1 against the spread at home, though, 14-12 to the under. Guys, I'm not letting myself be scared off by Minnesota being so bad against the spread at home. They're coming back home. I know they've won their last 3 road games in a row. Well, now is the time they get a win at home. The last time they played Penn State, it was at Penn State. We saw Dawson Garcia do his thing out there. We also saw Penn State shoot more free throws. We saw Minnesota, play pretty well, have a significant edge on the boards. I think that carries them in this one. Definitely give me Minnesota at home in this game. Rolling right along, guys, we're headed to the ACC. For this one, we've got Pittsburgh going on the road to take on Notre Dame. The Panthers had a pretty bleak stretch, losing 4 in a row there, but they've won 2 straight now, taking down Miami and then taking down Syracuse pretty convincingly. Both those games were home games there for Pittsburgh. They're currently only 7-8 in conference play, which in the ACC doesn't necessarily look great. They do have a monster in Julian Lowe. He's putting up nearly 17 points and over 5 assists per game. That is no light work, guys. That's very, very good stuff. We'll see what they can do here against a Notre Dame team that's been kind of all over the place. In that win against Syracuse, I liked what we saw from Pitt quite a bit. I mean, they kept things even on the boards, but at home, they took advantage. They shot the ball really, really well. They got to the basket and got fouled a lot, getting a lot of free throws. A couple guys scoring 19 points. We had 4 double-digit scores there for the Pitt Panthers, so things pointed in the right direction now for Pittsburgh. I mean, they obviously have a lot of work to do here at the end of the season, but they're going to get their chance to, do some good things, close the end of the year out strong. They've got games against Louisville looming and stuff like that, but their next game is against Georgia Tech, so no major look-ahead spot. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish, only 11-15 on the season, 5-10 in conference play. They've lost 5 out of their last 6. They just got blown away by SMU. We were on SMU in that game, so thank you, SMU, for taking care of business and for Notre Dame sucking. Their coach going on epic post-game rants, smashing of microphones. I don't think that's a good look, really, especially for this kind of team and from this kind of organization. Notre Dame, just not very good this year, guys. They couldn't keep things close against SMU or Louisville. You beat Boston College in a nail-biter, but just not a lot of positives. They lost to Miami earlier this season. Miami is terrible. I don't know, guys. Tay Davis putting up good numbers, 15, 16 points a game, 50% from the field. That's great. But if your team can't defend or rebound or really score, not a lot of good stuff on the horizon. So looking at the numbers in this game, Notre Dame getting 2.5 points at home. We've got a total of 142.5. Pitt only 3-6 against the spread on the road, 12, 11, and 3 to the over. Notre Dame 4-9 against the spread at home, 13, 12, and 1 to the under. Guys, I'm taking Pittsburgh on the road in this one. I don't know if this is going in the pin comment. It's definitely got a shot, though. Seems like a very, very reasonable spot for a team that's desperate for wins right now and feels like they're good enough to, end up in the NCAA tournament. Notre Dame headed in the opposite direction. Their coach is clearly having some sort of mental breakdown, and they've got Clemson on deck. Like, this team not headed in a good direction. Give me the Pittsburgh Panthers for sure. Rolling right along here, guys, we're looking at number 24, Ole Miss. They're going on the road in this game to take on Vanderbilt. The Rebels come into this game 19-7 on the season, but they're fresh off a tough 81-71 loss against Mississippi State. So this team's done some good stuff. Sean Padula leading the way, 15 points, 4 assists per game. Good season-long numbers, top 80 or 90 in points per game. The rebounding, though, is a huge problem. They're 300 and something in the nation in rebounding. The defense is good, but you got to finish those defensive possessions off with rebounds. And they've got some nice wins, taking down teams like Kentucky, keeping things close against Auburn. Kind of close at least. Playing a very close game against Texas A&M, but what are they going to do here against a very, very tough Vanderbilt team? Well, the Commodores come into this game 17-9 on the season. They're currently 5-8 in conference play, so they've got work to do. They've lost 3 in a row, but losing against Auburn, Tennessee, and Kentucky. Okay, that's maybe 3 of the toughest teams. That's rough, guys. That's really rough. So now they've got another tough one coming up. At least they're at home for this game, though, so got to give them some semblance of hope there. They come into this one obviously fresh off a tough showing at Kentucky, but being back home should certainly help. Against Kentucky their last time, an 82-61 loss probably doesn't feel amazing. They played a great first half, but then just fell apart there in the second half. So proving they've got what it takes to, hang with them, but just not quite enough to get over the top there. So we'll see what Jason Edwards and company can do. This is a top 60, top 55 offensive team. They can rebound it a little bit. Their defense isn't great, but it's not terrible. We see the odds makers like Vanderbilt here. They're actually 1.5 point favorites at home. We've got a total of 152.5. Ole Miss 5-3 against the spread on the road, 14-12 to the under. Vanderbilt 9-5 against the spread at home. This is a really good home team. They're they're 500 over under team. We don't care about the over under here, guys. Give me Vanderbilt at home. This is a very good spot. I'm not sure if it's going in the pinned comment or not, but Vanderbilt seems like a very, very solid value here. Getting that home court advantage is a very big deal, especially for this team. Next up, guys, staying in the SEC, we've got Georgia going on the road to take on number 1 Auburn. The Georgia Bulldogs 16-10 on the season, guys. They're fresh off of a 3rd straight loss. They kind of got manhandled there by Mizzou. They haven't had a good time recently against Texas Tech or Mississippi State. Oh, that Mississippi State game was a 1-point game, so I'm not going to give you any trouble for losing by 1 against anybody really in the SEC. Well, anybody in the top half of the SEC, obviously, but this team not having a great time, guys. They're 5th from last in the conference, 4-9 in conference play. They don't have a ton of great individual scores. Newell is not bad. 55.5% from the field is respectable, but they've got losses here against teams like Arkansas. They did beat LSU, so give them credit for that, but hasn't been a great time for Georgia, and they're really about to get tested in their next couple games playing Auburn and then Florida, and this game against Auburn, guys, could be brutal. The number 1 Auburn Tigers, 24-2 on the season. They got that nice win against Alabama. Survived a little bit of a scare there against Arkansas, so we'll see if they lock back in here. They play Georgia, then they play Ole Miss, then they play Kentucky, and they finish the season off with just a really, really tough road. So we'll see what they do. Johnny Broome continues to play amazing, looking like one of the best players in college basketball. Obviously, this is one of the best offenses, best defenses, great rebounding. There's really not a lot of weaknesses to find here for Auburn, but one weakness I can see here is they are 17.5 point favorites in a game they fully expect to get a blowout win in. So, will Georgia be competitive here? We've got a total of 147.5. Georgia's only 1-6 against the spread on the road. That's not a great sign. Auburn, they are 6-5-1 against the spread at home. This is a bit of a tough spot, guys. I don't love this game at all. I don't know how motivated Auburn's going to be. They know they're going to win this game, kind of walking away. It is a kind of a rivalry spot for sure, so maybe that helps a little bit here in the SEC, but I'm going to be leaning slightly towards Georgia in the points, but not a game that I'm going to be involved in a significant way. Next up, guys, we're headed out to the ACC for a very interesting matchup. We've got number 18 Clemson going on the road to take on SMU. The Clemson Tigers having a pretty good time, guys. They've won 3 in a row, including that big win against Duke. They didn't blink, guys. Their next game, they took down North Carolina, and then a blowout dismantling there of Florida State. So we'll see what they can do on the road in this one. They got to go they went on the road for Florida State and looked good. Now they're on the road against SMU, a completely different animal, a team that's currently in the top 4 out there in the ACC. Clemson, guys, Chase Hunter, a monster. 17 points per game, shooting nearly 50% from the field. Nothing wrong with that. This is a solid offensive team, very, very good defensive team. The rebounding, a little bit hit or miss. We'll see what that looks like in this particular matchup, but they could have their hands full here against SMU, guys. The Mustangs 20-6 on the season. They're fresh off of a win against Notre Dame. They did have that weird loss against Wake Forest. That does not look good, but they've taken care of business against teams like Pitt, a 20-point win there, a close win at Virginia Tech. But it seems like when they're at home, they handle business very, very comfortably. And then when they go on the road, it's probably going to be a close game. So we'll see what they do at home in this one. Obviously, against a very solid Clemson team. I mean, SMU, they're going to get after it. They're 21st in the nation in points per game. What is going to prevail in this one, offense or defense? Well, SMU looks like the better rebounding team to me as well. I mean, putting up, the 26th in total rebound. I know total rebounding is very, very much impacted by pace of play, but we'll see, guys. I'm seeing a lot of things that I like right now for this SMU squad. It looks like they're now getting 1.5 points in this one. We've got a total of 145.5. Clemson is 6-3 against the spread on the road, which is very, very respectable to be, above 500 against the spread on the road. SMU 7-8 against the spread at home. They're 15-11 to the over. Definitely not a spot I'm interested in the over, but I'm also, guys, I'm certainly interested here in the SMU Mustangs. I mean, not really a look-ahead spot there for Clemson or SMU, so that's not a big consideration. I think we see Clemson blink here a little bit on the road and have a rough time. They're second in the ACC. They're unlikely to catch up to Duke, though. We'll see how things go, but yeah, I'm certainly leaning towards SMU here at home. Next up, guys, out in the Big 12, we've got Oklahoma State going on the road to take on number 23 Kansas. The Oklahoma State Cowboys 13-13 on the season, one of the bottom 4 teams out there in the Big 12, but they have, they've got a 5-10 conference record. They've got 5 conference wins, which is much better than the teams below them. So they've done some positive things. They're coming off a crazy 104-95 win there against UCF. Yeah, that game didn't even go into overtime, which is pretty freaking bonkers, guys. I mean, we saw Thompson put up 25 points, Hall put up 34, like a crazy high scoring game there, and Oklahoma State does eventually come away with the win. They've had their troubles this season with the good teams. I mean, they did keep things close at TCU. They kept things to single digits against Houston, but they've gotten washed a few times this season as well, like losing 93-55 against Texas Tech. So what are they going to do on the road in this one against a team as good as Kansas or as bad as Kansas? That's an interesting question, guys. I mean, over the course of the season, this team not very good defensively, but Kansas has not been having a great time. They lost 2 in a row, losing at Utah and losing at BYU. They got blown the freak out at BYU, guys. They also won 91-57. This team not nearly as good as they are supposed to be this year. They look decent on the boards. I mean, some of their stats look good. Their defensive stats look good, but they have not been good in a lot of the biggest spots. Their best win this season was a home win against Iowa State, and I'm not sure what could have possibly they have done this year to top that. Yeah, I don't remember anything. Yeah, those super early season wins, I'm not freaking out about those. This team just not looking as good as it's supposed to look. And the odds makers don't care in this matchup. They've got the Kansas Jayhawks as 15.5 point favorites. We've got a total of 150.5. Oklahoma State actually 5-4 against the spread on the road. They're 14-12 to the over. Kansas 6-8 against the spread at home, 19-7 to the under. This is a huge bounce back spot for Kansas and a letdown spot technically for Oklahoma State. The Jayhawks only have Colorado on deck, so that's not a big concern, and Oklahoma State does have Iowa State on deck, so they've got a big game coming up. I don't think they're going to be overlooking Kansas, though. Go ahead and give me Oklahoma State and the points in this one as a small lean. I think they keep it close and probably end up losing by 12 or 13, but not a play that I am convinced in enough to put in the pinned comment. Back to the SEC here, guys. We're looking at number 2 Florida going on the road to take on LSU. The Florida Gators 23-3 on the season, so they're having a pretty good time. They've won 4 in a row. They just blew out Oklahoma by 22 their last time out. So things are looking the way they would want them to look. Walter Clayton Jr. back, healthy, playing great. This team's elite offensively, dominant on the boards. This is a very good ball movement team, and they play great defense. Like, there's not really a whole much more that you could ask out of this Florida team. Definitely has their sights set on a #1 seed in the NCAA tournament, and they would love to challenge Auburn for the top spot out there in the SEC. So we'll see how that goes. They got to keep their eye on the prize, though, here. They're taking on LSU. Not a look at spot, though. They got Georgia on deck. The LSU Tigers only 14-12. They're not having a great time in the SEC this year, guys. It's been a little bit tough, but they're only 3-10 in conference play, but 2 of those 3 wins have come over the last couple games. They got a close win at Oklahoma and then a dominant win against South Carolina. Obviously, South Carolina the worst team in the SEC, so let's not freak out about that. But yeah, this LSU team, they don't play a lot of defense. Their rebounding numbers are middle of the road. They can score the ball. Got to give them credit for that. They don't have, they've got a monster leading scorer in Cam Carter, obviously, but yeah, I don't know, guys. It's looking a little bleak here for LSU. They're 10.5-point underdogs at home. We've got a total of 152.5. Florida 4-3 against the spread on the road, 16-10 to the under. LSU 8-7 against the spread at home, 13-13 to the over/under. Guys, I love Florida here on the road. I think they're going to get the job done easily in this game. They can win this by 20 points. I would not be surprised at all. This is obviously, something of a letdown spot here for LSU after winning 2 in a row. They've got Tennessee and Mississippi State on deck. Like, it's about time we're going to start seeing what LSU is really like, and it is not going to be a bunch of blowouts, guys. This team is not going to have a good time here. So give me Florida to get the blowout win and cover in this one for sure. Next up, guys, one of the biggest games of the day. We got #7 Kentucky going on the road to take on #4 Alabama. Kentucky comes in this game fresh off an 82-61 beat down. Well, a second half beat down because the first half wasn't going so great. Beat down there by Kentucky. They've had some injuries and stuff. Like, they haven't been at full strength, but this has been a very good offensive team over the course of the season, so got to give them credit for that. This is their second chance against Alabama. They played a barn burner, a 102-97 loss there against Alabama earlier this season. So Kentucky doing their thing. They're kind of, where we would have expected them to be, a team that doesn't play much defense, tons of offense, tons of pace. When they're healthy, they're pretty good. Are they going to be healthy for this one? Seems like it's still kind of up in the air right now, guys. So we'll have to keep updated on that. But they're going up against a very tough, very, very, motivated opponent. The Alabama Crimson Tide are 21-5 on the season, losing 2 in a row. They lost against Auburn, and then they lost 110-98 against Missouri. That was at Missouri. That's a tough environment to play in. We were on the wrong side in that one. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I liked Alabama a lot there. They couldn't quite figure it out. Mark Sears and company, great. This is a great team. They're first in the nation, averaging 90 points per game, 90 points per game. Crazy work. The pace obviously allows them to be a great rebounding team, and the defense kind of goes by the wayside. So we'll see what happens here, guys. Alabama, 9.5-point favorites at home. We've got a total of 180.5. That's crazy to see. Kentucky, 3-4 against the spread on the road, 14-12 to the over. Alabama, 6-6 against the spread at home, 14-11-1 to the over as well. I'm not taking over 180.5, guys, but I do think there's good reason here to take Alabama -9.5. I just don't think Kentucky can keep up right now with Alabama. I think they're way too good of a team. I think they're way too motivated. I think they're pissed. They've lost the last 2 games. I think this is a good spot for them to take out some frustration and get a blowout win and cover against a Kentucky team that I don't really trust. Heading into the home stretch here, guys, we're looking at Boise State going on the road to take on Nevada out in the Mountain West. Boise State 18-8 on the season, fresh off a big win against New Mexico, an 86-78 win. They'll definitely take that. It was a nice bounce back after getting kind of blown away there at San Diego State. This Boise State Broncos team has been very good this season, guys. They've got a 66-56 win at home against Nevada earlier this season. Are they going to be able to back that up on the road, though? That could be kind of a big ask. I mean, Tyson Dengart, he is a monster. Don't get me wrong. This team is good offensively, very good defensively. The rebounding, though, is a little bit questionable, and you would think they'd be fine against a team like Nevada that's only 7-8 in conference play, but Boise State only 10-5 in conference play. The Nevada Wolfpack comes into this game fresh off an 8-point loss there at Colorado State, so that probably doesn't feel very good. They're about to, clash here with Boise State, and these two teams a little bit similar. I mean, Nevada, a very weak rebounding team, and that is a concern. At Boise State, guys, I mean, the rebounding numbers were not the big problem, guys. The problem was that we just saw, just dominant stuff there from Boise State on defense. They allowed Nevada to shoot only 40% from the field in general, and we saw Boise State shoot only 32% from 3. They can definitely do better than that. So looking at the numbers of this game, guys, Nevada actually 1.5-point favorites at home. We've got a total of 136.5. Boise State 3-5 against the spread at home, or on the road. I mean, they are 13-12 to the over. Nevada 8-6 against the spread at home, 14-12 to the under. I'm leaning a bit towards Boise State on the road in this one to, continue their dominance in this matchup this season. I don't know if I'd put this as quite a lock, but I think Nevada's been kind of playing much better against the weaker teams, and I don't think they're going to have a great time against a team that's quite as good as Boise State. Last but not least, guys, we're headed out to the MAC. We're looking at the Akron Zips going on the road to take on the Ohio Bobcats in a pretty exciting game, guys. I mean, we see Akron coming into this one of the most high-flying offensive teams in the nation. They're fresh off a nice 10-point win there against Northern Illinois. Obviously, Northern Illinois, a terrible, terrible team, but Akron, guys, they probably were focused more on this game and more on finishing this season out strong. We see the Zips, guys, they're averaging 84.2 points per game. They're a top 25 rebounding team. They're a decent defensive team, to be honest. Their assist numbers are very, very good. Nate Johnson leads his team with 14 points per game, but they are an offense by committee, and they're hoping they can replicate their 92-80 win they got against Ohio earlier this season. The Ohio Bobcats only 14-12 on the season, 8-5 in conference play, though. They're fresh off of a very narrow 2-point win against Central Michigan. They lost a heartbreaker by 1 point at Kent State earlier, so we'll see what they can do here against Akron. I mean, this is kind of a big ask for a team that only averages, only averages 79.8 points per game. Their defensive numbers, though, not very good. Their rebounding is atrocious, and that's what could really be the problem in this game. I mean, the last time these two teams faced each other, guys, I mean, we saw Akron get a 12-point win in that one. That was a home game for Akron. The Bobcats were on the road. The rebounding numbers, not quite the way you would think they would be, guys. Ohio actually had a significant rebounding margin, but Akron was shooting the ball well. They made 10 threes in the game, shot over 50% from the field. So, looking at the numbers for this one, guys, we see Ohio getting 1.5 points. We've got a total of 163.5. Akron 5-4 against spread on the road, 15-8-1 to the over. Ohio 6-5 against spread at home, 17-7-1 to the over. Guys, I think this is a great spot to take the over. That's actually going to be my main lean on this game, is over 163.5. You could talk me into Akron in this game as well, but I think the over is where you want to be. That's all the games we have for today, guys. Hit that like button for good luck on all your bets. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Let me know in the comments any questions you have on today's slate. Get over to stumpthespread.com. We're going to have a ton of premium NCAA basketball picks posted over there for tomorrow. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you tomorrow for more sports betting action.